Welcome to Goodland. This small town in Florida only has 200 to 300 residents, but it has 4 bars.
Now, I personally like that ratio, but some people might say this place has a drinking problem. But if you ask the residents of Goodland, they might tell you this is a drinking village with a fishing problem.
Even the mermaid on the post office is drinking a beer.
Welcome to the South Florida swampland, where you're more likely to see a bear than a white sand beach, and where gators vastly outnumber people. We're Jamie and Skylar, and in this video, we're going to show you why this little Florida town that's probably not on your radar definitely should be. And because we just can't get enough of these old Florida fishing towns, we're going to show you around nearby Everglades City as well. While both of these towns have plenty to offer any time of the year, during our visit they were a bit more active than usual, as Everglades City was hosting its annual Seafood Fest, and Goodland was hosting its 40th Annual Mullet Fest. From beers to bees, grouper to gator, great drinks, and even better food, this video's got it all. And it's time to get it started with our first day in Goodland. But first, you may be wondering, where the heck is Goodland, Florida? Well, it's about straight west of Miami, straight north of Key West, and just around 4 miles straight east of Marco Island. But while it may be close in proximity to the upscale Marco Island, its vibe could not be much more different. Now getting back to our day in Goodland, we knew we wanted to check out each of its 4 bars, and since we were hungry, we started off at the Little Bar, which is known by many for having Goodland's best food. And since the weather on this day was nearly perfect, we decided to dine outside on the water, along with pretty much everyone else.
All right, you know what you're getting yet?
No, not yet.
They got some interesting things on there. Frog legs, ooh, bay scallop ceviche. I've been on a ceviche kick lately, that sounds good. We've seen a lot of different types of grouper where we live, but I don't think we've ever seen grouper balls before.
I think we gotta get those.
Well, they're only $3.50, so why not?
After a few short minutes of relaxing by the bay, our lunch order had arrived, which did include some grouper balls, as well as the bay scallop ceviche and this fried soft-shell crab sandwich. And for those of you who know Skylar, it will come as no surprise that he ordered a local beer as well.
Ooh, beer game, huh?
Oh yeah. Ready to try it?
I've had that before. It's very good. All right, Jamie, are you ready to try grouper balls?
Yeah, we got 2 pair. Here we go. Gotta dip it in the sauce.
Oh, that's like a grouper hush puppy kind of, huh?
Kind of, but it's full of fish. I didn't even know what to expect.
It's a lot different than like if you got a grouper nugget though, right?
Oh yeah, it's much different from a grouper nugget. I mean, it's kind of like a hush puppy, but with a lot of fish inside. And the sauce, I like it. It's just a little bit spicy.
While Skylar was initially skeptical of the grouper balls too, like me, he absolutely loved them.
I'm trying the bay scallop ceviche, and already I can see a whole bunch of scallops in there. It looks delicious. This is just like all scallops.
Better than the ceviche we made a week ago?
Yes,
Is it?
It's a lot better. But our ceviche was really good too.
Wow. It tastes so fresh. I love the cilantro, and those scallops melt in your mouth.
While our lunch so far was a resounding success, we were probably most excited to try the soft-shell crab sandwich, something that neither of us had ever tried before and weren't exactly quite sure how to eat.
So Jamie has pulled all of the legs off of our poor crab, but it does make it much easier to eat the sandwich that way. Plus we got a bunch of little crab fingers we can still snack on. Time to try the crab. Honestly, this bite's not great. I feel like there's way more breading than crab, but I bet once we get to here where all the meat is, it's gonna be a lot better. Finally got our sandwich in form, ready to eat. You ready to try this thing?
Yeah, it's good.
First grouper balls, first crab sandwich. All sorts of new things already.
I'd say it's all success.
Now there are not a whole lot of places to eat here in Goodland, and we were already thinking about having lunch at the Little Bar, but as soon as we got into town and got out of our car, a local actually stopped us and told us that we absolutely have to have lunch at the Little Bar, so that made our decision really easy.
Now I really love the atmosphere there with all of the outdoor seating right next to the water, but as far as our favorite item, both Skylar and I were going back and forth between the grouper balls and also the ceviche because both of them were really delicious.
Now I think we were both a little bit surprised that that soft shell crab sandwich was actually our least favorite item, especially considering it was the most expensive by far. bar. But that being said, it was still really good. And I also love that Anchor Lab porter. It was the best porter I've had in a while.
Now we still have 3 of Goodland's 4 bars to take you to, but we do want to show you a bit of what else Goodland has to offer as well. And since we always try to at least somewhat balance our eating and drinking with some exercise, we decided to check out a couple local parks. Now we're not gonna lie, the Goodland Boat Park would have been a lot cooler if we actually had a boat, but it did still have a scenic walking path, a nice dock to relax on, and a little bait shop with souvenirs, drinks, and restrooms.
Now, while Goodland does have a lot to offer, one thing you might not find a lot of is cell reception. Meaning if you want to check emails, catch up with family and friends, or even watch your favorite YouTubers, you're probably going to have to get on public Wi-Fi to do it.
And that can be a bit like walking into a swarm of bees. You definitely do not want to do it without the right protection, because you just never know who else is on that same unprotected connection, just waiting to steal your personal data, your financial information, or even your identity.
And that's where today's sponsor, IPVanish, comes in. With IPVanish enabled, you can secure your internet connection on any network with just one touch, protecting it from advertisers, internet service providers, and most importantly, hackers.
Now we use IPVanish on both of our cell phones, our laptops, and our TV. Because unlike some of the other VPN providers, a subscription with IPVanish allows you to connect as many devices as you'd like.
Now, as many of you already know, this very channel was hacked a little over a year ago, before we knew anything about IPVanish. It was an absolutely terrible experience, and it is the absolute last thing we would ever want to happen to any of you.
Now, if you're ready to secure your connections today, you can do so by visiting ipvanish.com/explorcation, by either clicking on the link in the video description or by scanning the QR code on the screen, where you can save big with either a 1 or a 2-year membership.
Thanks so much to IPVanish for sponsoring this episode. Now let's go see more of Goodland.
After checking out the Goodland Boat Park, we had one more spot to explore before hitting the rest of the bars, and that led us to Goodland's other park. And since no 2 spots in Goodland are more than a few blocks away from each other, we decided to walk there. While we didn't find too much at the Margate Harbor Park, we did find this really cool mural, an iguana, plenty of green space to relax in, the closest thing to a beach we found in Goodland, and a great spot to launch paddleboards and kayaks.
All right, so let's talk about first impressions. Now, I thought this place was going to be a little bit bigger with a few more businesses. We actually brought our scooters along because we thought we might have to scoot around a bit, but everything is so close. We've been able to walk everywhere.
And honestly, I was expecting it to be a little bit more run down than it is. It's actually quite nice. You will find trailers and boats in people's driveways and yards, but they generally seem to be nice trailers and nice boats. And there is a trailer park in the middle of town, but it's probably the nicest trailer park we've ever seen. So it's definitely a lot different than Naples here, but in a good way.
After basically walking all the way across Goodland and back, we were starting to get a bit thirsty, but lucky for us, our second bar of the day was just another short walk away. Just a couple blocks away from the little bar, sitting right on the banks of the Goodland Bay, Paradise Found Restaurant and Bar will likely live up to its name for many. And if you're into pirates, live music, boating, tiki bars, and America, you'll likely be able to count yourself among that group. And while it was a bit windy, our tropical cocktails tasted great, and we both agreed that we'd be excited to return when all this additional outdoor space was completed. Our third bar of the day would take us just a few steps away, where back by the bay, we'd be eating key lime pie. Because after all, Goodland is known for more than just drinking and fishing, although they certainly do both of those things well. But speaking of this bar, the Krabby Lady was 100% our type of vibe, as it had a nice stage for live music, great waterfront views, and plenty of places to sit either right on the water or with your feet in the sand. And getting back to that pie, we both thought it was exceptional, and Skylar found it to pair extremely well with this local Bonehook beer.
Now, we've been wanting to check out the Goodland area ever since we visited the Naples Marco Island area last year, and this weekend is the perfect weekend to visit because not only is there a band that we've been wanting to see, but also it is Mullet Fest.
And I've been working on my Florida man status pretty much since we moved to Florida over 11 years ago, and I'm pretty sure that attending Mullet Fest is going to get me a little bit closer. Now, I don't really know what to expect at this event, but I cannot wait to find out.
Now, as some of you may already know, Mullet Fest is not actually named after the badass 80s hairdo, but is named after the badass jumping fish which inhabit Florida's coastal waters. Now, the fact that this festival isn't actually named after the mullet haircut sure didn't keep several people from rocking them. And a festival that involves great live music and great hair is definitely our type of party.
It's Mullet Fest weekend. How the hell are you feeling?
Not only did Mullet Fest have great music on stage, but they also had great food on the menu. And what better place than Mullet Fest to try fried mullet for the very first time?
First time trying mullet.
It's time to turn this party up right now. Plenty of room on the...
The fried mullet was fantastic, as was the overall vibe at stands, which we found to be the perfect blend of an old Florida dive bar, a tiki bar, and a live music venue. While we were amazed that this tiny Florida town could draw out this large of a crowd for live music, we were told that this crowd is actually quite typical for stands on a weekend, especially when Rock Republic is playing. We had an absolute blast dancing the night away at stands, but couldn't party too hard as we had another tiny Florida fishing town to visit the next morning.
Good morning. It is our second day exploring the 10,000 Islands area of Florida. Now we are getting off to a very late start because we had such a fun time at Mullet Fest.
I probably had a little too much fun of a time.
And we didn't get to bed until really late. And part of that is because we had to drive about an hour to where we were going to be staying last night. So in the Goodland area, there's not a lot of hotels or rentals. It's a very small community, and any place that still had availability was very expensive, like over $300 a night. So we ended up driving back up to the Fort Myers area and staying in a more reasonable hotel. But today we are heading back down south, and we have got some pretty unique places to share, and of course a lot more food.
Now, if you ever head down to the Everglades City area, you may find that it feels like you're driving to the middle of nowhere, as outside of the roads, signs, and power lines, there's really no hints of human existence. But this seemingly desolate place has an abundance of wildlife, along with numerous parks devoted to its preservation.
Now, if you are familiar with our channel, then you know we typically try to stop by a state park or somewhere with some trails where we can get out and get some exercise. There are 2 state parks and also a state forest in this area of Florida that we would love to go and explore. But unfortunately, because we got up so late today, we are not going to have the time to take you to one of those, but we are excited to show you our next stop.
And that stop would actually take us a few miles past our turnoff to Everglades City, where in the unincorporated community of Ochopi, you'll find the smallest operating post office in the United States.
For a place that's closed, this is pretty busy.
At just 61 square feet, the post office is only open for a few hours each day, and unfortunately, we arrived shortly after it closed. And while we wouldn't say this attraction was the highlight of our weekend, we both agreed it was worth stopping by to snap a photo or send a postcard. Our second stop of the day took us just a few hundred feet down the road from the post office, where you'll find Joanie's Blue Crab Cafe, serving up old Florida seafood favorites and ice-cold beer. Once featured on the Food Network's Craziest Restaurants in America, Joanie's has recently become quite the tourist attraction in its own right, and it didn't take us long to figure out why.
When you walk in, there's a giant sign that says to grab a menu and grab a drink. So they've got self-serve coolers over here, and then the waitresses will come around and take your order. Now, something you might miss unless you look up is that the rafters are just lined with postcards.
After spending a few minutes just wandering around this restaurant and taking in all of its old Florida charm, it was time to grab a beer and find ourselves a seat.
So since we're basically in the Everglades right now, I had to go with this Gator Bait IPA from Everglades Ale Company. We'll give it a try. Tastes like it's brewed with Florida swamp water. Just kidding, it's really good actually.
Now, even though we'd soon be visiting a seafood festival, we decided that we just had to order seafood at Joanie's too. And while this place may not be known for having the fastest service, with so much to look at, we sure didn't mind waiting a bit.
So I went with the crab cake sandwich special because our waitress said it was like 90% crab, and I thought that sounded like a really good ratio.
And I went with the she crab soup, which our waitress said comes with an entire blue crab in it, so I cannot wait to try it. Yeah, this soup is definitely loaded with crab. Very good decision.
So this is one of the bigger crab cakes we have tried for sure. I'm ready to try this thing. That is a really good crab cake. It's not like overly fried, and you can tell it is full of crab.
While it's safe to say both of our orders definitely passed the eye test, we can confirm that they both tasted great as well.
So we are getting ready to leave Joanie's, and that place is the definition of old Florida. It has so much history and character. Now it is off the beaten path a little bit, but we would highly recommend stopping by.
Now, in addition to the awesome atmosphere, we did both really enjoy the food as well. I did like my she crab soup quite a bit, but I gotta admit, Jamie out-ordered me this time because that crab cake was probably the best crab cake that either of us had ever had. So apparently not only do you have to worry about alligators around here, but you gotta worry about bears as well.
Fortunately, the only animal that we encountered in Joanie's backyard were fish, but we didn't want to test our luck any further, so we decided to make our way to Everglades City.
We're just getting into Everglades City, and the parking is already crazy.
Thankfully, we had brought our scooters, so we didn't mind having to park around 5 blocks from the entrance to the festival, which upon arrival, we found to much more resemble a carnival, with lots of rides, carnival games, and carnival food to choose from. But we eventually did find what we had come here for, which was the music and, of course, the food. But since the bands we were excited to see had not yet started, and we were still pretty full from our lunch, we decided to check out some of the vendors, and we soon found one that drew Skylar in.
135 proof.
135 proof.
For those of you who don't know, Skylar is a sucker for free samples, especially free liquor samples, even if it is 135 proof moonshine. And while the original Tennessee moonshine was a little harsh, Skylar found one flavor that he absolutely loved.
So I wasn't planning on drinking quite this early here, but we came across this Tennessee moonshine whiskey stand, and they were giving away free samples. They actually let me try 5 of them, and they were all really good. The jalapeno cornbread, easily. That was extremely unique and delicious.
After 5 samples of moonshine, it was time to find something a little less alcoholic. And since this cute lemonade stand was clearly a hit with the local bees, I decided I'd give it a try as well.
So it ended up being pretty hot today, and when we saw this cute little lemonade stand, I just had to get one. Now, typically they don't attract bees, but thankfully they are friendly.
What do you think of it?
Yeah, it's very good and refreshing.
As we made our way towards the stage to catch some live music, we passed by the Licorice Guy stand, which was also giving away free samples.
I've got some strawberry cherry licorice to try. Oh yeah.
Strawberry lemonade.
It goes really good.
And just a few stands down from the Licorice Guy, we came across the overachieving tea booth, where we sampled a few different types of delicious yerba mate.
Oh, that's nice. Double strength. Yeah, lemon mint. Oh, that's good. And you said this one is on nitro?
Yeah.
So this one's roasted with coconut vanilla beans. I don't think I'm saying that right. All right, this one has elderberry in it.
Elderberry and acai.
Yeah, I like that.
Is that your favorite?
Probably. I am loving all the free samples here. This one is a pulled pork nacho from a stand over that way somewhere.
After a lot of samples, we finally made it to the stage where once again we get to enjoy one of the best new bands in Florida, Rock Republic. And while their set at this festival was only an hour long, there'd be another band coming on later that we were also excited to see. But first we'd have to grab dinner, and we sure did have a lot of options to choose from, including blackened grouper, fried grouper, smoked barbecue, shrimp and fish tacos, crab cakes, Cubans, and even smoked alligator.
So I was really hoping to find something unique to try here at the Seafood Festival, and I would say that this definitely qualifies. It's something they call the swamp mix. It has macaroni and cheese mixed with jambalaya and also smoked alligator. Now, we've had fried alligator before, but we've definitely never had it smoked, and we also have never had it with mac and cheese and jambalaya, so I cannot wait to try it. That has so many different flavors. They do blend together surprisingly well. Yeah, I'd recommend it.
Now, while I wasn't quite as enthused about trying the swamp mix as Skylar was, it did smell really good, and I was quite curious to find out what 6-hour smoked gator tasted like. I do gotta admit, it was pretty good, although I didn't think it was quite worth the price tag.
Now, I should probably mention that this bowl was $30, which is pretty pricey, but everything you're gonna find here is gonna be a bit on the pricier side. It just is what it is.
But one thing that sure wasn't pricey at the Seafood Festival was all the free samples, and we just couldn't resist trying a few more of them.
That's amazing. You should probably try it.
After trying 5 different sauces from the Ms. Chili Pepper stand, the Scotch Bonnet was the winner, and we ended up going home with a couple jars of it.
So after trying all those pepper sauces, my mouth is on fire, and we spent all our cash, so I can't get a beer, so we're going to find an ATM.
After grabbing some cash and our coats, we made our way to the festival, which was now all lit up. And while I would have loved to try out a few of the rides, we had to get back to the Seafood Festival stage, where a Leonard Skinner tribute band was just about to start.
Make some noise for Tuesday's Go!
The band drew a good crowd and sounded great on this cool Florida evening. And unlike nearly every other band that we've ever seen, when the crowd shouts "Freebird," this one actually plays it.
What song is it you want to hear? I heard it down. It's for Ronnie Van Zant and Gary Rossington and all the Freebirds in rock and roll heaven.
We hope you enjoyed spending time with us in what turned out to be a couple of our new favorite spots in Florida. And if you'd like to join us for many more Florida and Caribbean adventures, be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn the notifications on. Thanks for watching!